All right, everybody. Uh, we're always here. We're keeping the promise to show up. Might not be consistent sometimes, but hey, the Awaken men are always here, and we have our lives to go through. So we go through our journeys, and that's why we might disappear for a while, but we come back just like promised. Here we are, right, Daniel?
Yes, I'm not dead, which is good.
We're not dead, yeah. So that's the good part. We're we are going through our changes, especially right now. The Mercury is either about to go into retrograde or is in retrograde. I don't keep up too much with it. I just know that when Mercury in retrograde kicks in, all I know is that computer equipment starts acting up for whatever reason, and technical difficulties happen. And I do have part of my business is an IT business, and I get some calls during that time. No matter what anybody says, Mercury in retrograde does affect IT. That's all I know.
Vibration does. I was on a call last night and we were doing a meditation and she was channeling and literally you couldn't hear what she was saying, but I could feel everything. Right when the meditation stopped, I could hear it again. It started working. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's all energy, right? So it makes
Yeah.
sense that energy would affect energy, even from a logical standpoint.
It's very interesting, because vibration, I feel that's really the root of everything. I mean, there's always a constant vibration. People think that just because it's a solid hand, or a solid body that we're not vibrating. And actually we are. We're always vibrating. It's just that our human mind makes it look like we're not. The human mind gives us something to understand for us, which is very powerful, I think. That brings the whole thing about we're creating our realities and in a different perspective. And our mind is plays tricks on us to get us comfortable, I guess is the only way I can explain it.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't believe in vibration or energy at this point, like you're in denial. I mean, science has proven it. Spirituality's talking about it forever. Like when
Yeah.
people say, I don't believe in energy, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like you have to believe in it. Now you don't have to believe that it works the way we think it works.
Mm-hmm.
But to not believe in everything's vibration or energy is just, it's not intelligent, I guess. It's
Well,
just not, I don't want to say not intelligent, but it's just not correct.
I would say a
This point,
different belief system is the way I would see it, because the funny part is that whatever we believe is really our reality. If we
right.
believe this doesn't work, it's not going to work. I mean, it really is. That whole placebo effect, I think, is a very powerful statement. And even in the researches that they've done, about a very low percentage of the people that believe it's not going to work, it those percentage of people actually don't get what they want out of it. But the people that believe they're going to get something, they definitely get it.
Right.
Very
Yeah.
powerful stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the placebo effect might be more powerful than the actual effect of things.
Yeah, it's we have all these human bodies, and the human bodies have to be synchronized to some type of vibration. And I think that's where the brain, the vibration, and everything means something. And like you said, it's a matter of how can you not understand it, or how can you not believe it if it's all over, and science is all over it right now.
Right. It comes from a logical perspective and a spiritual perspective. And that's why I say intelligent. It's just, if you look at the body of research or what people have studied,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be real. I mean, that's the point of science, right? To find the truth that we
Right.
can all agree on, right? And also to reprogram ourselves when we don't believe something, which is really hard, right? So it would be like, oh, I thought it was this, but really it's this.
Yeah.
Like for one, I can remember I thought, that actually breaking stuff would actually be really good for getting rid of anger and lowering your anger.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of studies say the opposite. So it's like we think that's the truth because that just it makes sense. But then, science is supposed to unravel us and be the other way, right? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
maybe breaking stuff and running isn't the best way to lower stress. Maybe we need to sit still or, be calmer or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I love it because it unwinds my beliefs.
So speaking about anger, I guess, how do you deal with your anger? If breaking things is not a good way to do it, what do you recommend for anger there?
I suggest sitting and feeling it, so not
Mm.
getting rid of it. Um, I channeled in a book that I had to release at some point when they talked about exercise and things like that. They
Hmm.
said don't use it to get rid of your emotions. That's bypassing. So if you're angry and you always go say lift weights to get rid of the anger, you're not actually dealing with the anger. You're just getting rid of it another way, which isn't wrong. I'm not saying don't do that,
Hmm.
but there's another side of the coin where we have to sit with it, right? We can't just get rid of it. We have to
Yeah.
internalize it, which is different. It's not throwing it out. It's bringing it in. So I just sit with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Once in a while, I need to write it out, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
that, to me, that's still internalizing it. But
Yes.
sometimes that energy just needs to go out for me. And I'm not the type of guy that will break things to start off. I'm usually not the guy that will scream it out either. I mean, I do scream when I'm in pain or
Mm-hmm.
something, but other than that, I'm pretty much uh, a cool cat for that. I do get angry, but I believe in the communication. And if I do feel too much anger, especially when I'm talking to somebody or I am in a heated argument, if I feel that the anger is taking over me, I usually say, you know what? Let me step back for a little bit and I'll come back to talk about this. Because
Right.
an angry conversation just is not constructive if you're just yelling or putting insults or whatever else. It's just not who I am, and it's not constructive.
No, no. I mean, anger is not. If anger turns into passion, I guess it's useful. But I agree with the writing. I write too. I didn't even think of
Hmm.
that. So I'm glad. Really appreciate that you brought that up because I think that is really, really important. Journaling feelings gets them out and lets you honor what you're feeling. Because
Yeah,
I definitely understand the movement of only writing positive things and saying positive things, but that can lead to denial, which doesn't work either.
yeah. I mean, the for me, it's I've always have. Well, let me step back a little bit. I learned about writing when my brother got killed. One of the things that I was with a counselor, and I was really sad about my brother. And one of the things she told me, she said, "Why don't you write him a letter?" And I was like going, "It's like why and this and that." So, but finally, she convinced me, and I went ahead and did it. Once I started writing, it's very interesting what emotions come out because I was angry at myself, and all that time I had with the emotions, I thought I was just sad. I didn't realize I was angry at myself either. And that's what the power of writing to me is that it allows that emotion to come out, whether it's anger or sadness, but it comes out. And something about that energetic writing, even on paper, I don't even think people should type because even typing doesn't do it. I really do think writing, because I've met some people that say, "Oh, well, I journal. I put it into my phone and I say it out loud." And I don't know. There's just something about that I just don't see as a talking is one way, but still kind of recording it or typing it. It's not the same energy, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
I used to type it and say it, and that does
Mhm.
help.
Does it?
Um, yeah, but when I started writing on paper, it was better. So I do agree because I think it slows you down and makes you more present. Because I can type without being present. I type so fast. I can just be like,
Mhm.
let's or talking, but
Yeah.
writing, I like have to slow down. So it like slows me down to because my hand will hurt. So if I write too fast, I have to slow
Right.
down. So I believe, I'm a big fan of anything that slows you down, but I feel like
Yeah.
writing on paper really does that. And it makes it a little more real.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little more like tangible than on a computer. Not that I don't, if you want to type or talk, I think that works too, but
Yeah.
it's just not the same to me.
I didn't think about that though. It does slow you down because I type 90 plus words a minute, depending on what I'm typing. So sometimes I'm just typing and it's like I type so fast that my brain isn't even processing because I know where all the keys are, and my subconscious is really the one that my subconscious body is just typing, but it's not really processing through my brain. At least that's the way I see it.
Yeah. I actually really like channeling with typing. So I like writing my feelings on paper, but I like channeling when typing because almost it goes so fast I can't think about it. So that makes my channeling more legit because I'm not supposed to be thinking about it, right? It's supposed to be coming from somewhere else. But writing is better for feelings. So
That's true. I never thought about that.
yeah, for me personally. But again, I can type fast for someone that types slow. Maybe typing's better for you because it slows you down.
Yeah, that's true. There are people that henpick the keyboard. Well, I don't know. There are some henpickers that actually type pretty fast like that too. But
True.
it's a lot of thinking doing the henpecking.
Yeah. No, it's really important. Yeah, because I was going through, a lot of changes in my life. Like ended a relationship, lost a bunch of money, moved. My fault. These were delayed. Take all the blame. And yeah, writing was the thing I needed. I mean, writing on paper saved me. Sitting with myself, slowing down, letting everything kind of die.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to slow down to die. You can't be running around and let things fall. And it's not what I'm good at. I'm really good at jumping to the next thing. I'm not really good at sitting and letting things fall. But that's why writing helps. It's a different energy, but it's just as important because I think I've done this in the past, but people glorify creating your reality, but they don't glorify dying and letting things fall away, right? Some people like the other. I've seen spiritual people that really like things dying, but don't really like creating things. Like they like the death, but I'm the opposite. So you glorify that, but they don't do the other part, which kind of keeps you in a state of creating, but not letting things fall away, which is just as important as we see in nature.
Yeah, and I'm a believer in the balance. I believe that there's a balance to it all because as you do one of the other, then you're off balance on the other. And I feel that if we get into that balance, it's the point. But that's the nirvana point. When you're there,
Right.
it's like you're moving. But we're human beings, so it's always going to be a titter totter. Or I think that's what they call it. But it's always going to be moving, and that's why it's an ongoing thing. And we talk about meditation on the show all the time. It's like and that's what brings that balance back in, especially in a relationship. I mean, you ended a relationship. I just broke up a few months ago in my relationship also. And writing does help, and that meditation does help also to do that. And whatever works for you, these are the things that work for us. But if there's other things out there, feel free to put them in the comments and see what help out other people, see what people do out there. Because writing, I'm a big believer in, especially when you're going through a breakup, just kind of let yourself go. And if you cry, or if you can't cry and you want to cry, go watch a sad movie or something and just let those emotions out. I know I did that. I mean, I put it out there. It's like I don't mind crying if that's what I feel is good for me.
Yeah, I mean that's the death, right? Because men
Mm-hmm.
were taught to keep on creating and striving. We're not taught to die. I think
Yeah.
women in that sense are, I won't say luckier, but less conditioned not to let things fall apart.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's why men constantly are striving. And even if men lose their jobs and they're not working, they tend to have high suicide rates, way more than women, and do, not because men always need to strive. It's like part of our ego or part of
Right.
our worth is like being successful. And I know I've had that. And recently just understanding that has nothing to do with me being worthy, just existing as worthiness, but unraveling all those conditions of like, if you don't have the Maserati in the house, then the woman's not going to date you. That BS story, which is not true because I haven't had any of those things and have dated lots of women. So, that, that's ingrained in us. And writing and meditating helps you ungrain all that, decondition all those lies that you were told growing up.
Yeah, those constructs that we have around us are incredible. I mean, and sometimes we don't even realize we're doing that. And as men, yeah, we have. I mean, look at every movie you put in there. You have to be this type of man for a woman to fall in love, especially in the romantic ones. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel it's like, I went through a whole thing there where I was questioning. It's like, should I be that type of man? Until I finally
Right.
realized, it's like I'm the man that I am now, and uh, I love myself as who I am now, and that's for men. I feel that's where we find our challenges because we're always shown we should be something else, and right now with a lot of the energy is around the feminine energy. But I feel that feminine energy is also part of being a man, that you have to find that love of us being the men that we are, however or whatever condition we're in. And that's a challenge, especially when we're being told we always have to be this way or that way.
Yeah. I mean, to tell personal stories, because I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling you before, like I was doing Tinder because like I just like do it, and I got a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of matches, which rose my ego. I liked it, when people like match me back. Like I'm not like, I might be the spiritual person, but I like that attention. But one of the girls I was looking at was like, I'm looking for an alpha male, blah, blah, blah. And in the past, I know I would have been like, ugh, like I need to be that. Like, look, this is what women
Mm-hmm.
want. And I would have felt bad, but I was like, oh, I'm just not that. And I was literally gonna message her like, because she wanted to hike, like, let's just be friends. I'm not an alpha male. I'm never gonna be that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like so freeing that I didn't even have to be it. Like I was just like, oh, I am a very feminine, doing yoga, meditating male. And it's not that I
Right.
don't like certain things, but like I'm not an alpha male. Like it's just not who I am. But loving myself for that instead of trying to be something I'm not, which is just going to attract someone you don't want anyway. So it's
Right.
going to be this weird thing where you're just lying to each other.
Yeah, and it'll make you question. It'll make me like if I put myself in that situation because I've done that a few times, and it makes me question who I am. When I was
Right.
when I started dating uh, this person I just broke up with, she had a certain type of man that she told me she wanted, and it's like I tried to do some of that, and then I came to the realization that that's not me. The that's not me. And luckily, we were two individuals growing together,
Right.
and we were very open. And communication is a key, especially when you're trying to grow together. And once I discovered that part about me, it's like, oh, okay, it made me feel real comfortable with who I am. And now, like you talk about the alpha male. It's like I can be the alpha male if I wanted to, but I'm more of the guy that goes with the flow.
Right.
and if it needs to go this way, I'll go that way or that way. And that's not very alpha. The alpha male seems to be the one that's like, all right, we're going to go here and that's it. And I can be that, but it's not the full person of who I am. That's a part of me that if I want to activate it, I activate it, but it's not me at all.
No. Yeah, I had this tarot reading when I was at a ceremony, and it was all feminine energy, and the
Mm-hmm.
reader was like, you need to just acknowledge like that's where you're at. Like, and I think 90, probably this is a made up statistic, but 95% of men are leaning so far towards the masculine. And I would say most
Yep.
of our society leans towards it. So no one's really going with the flow, especially, on the male side of things. Like women are probably more naturally and allowed to,
Mm-hmm.
because they're not conditioned as much to strive. And just acknowledging that part of me as like awakened a part in me. And I did it, but it's almost like owning it, like, and saying it like, yeah, I'm super
Mm-hmm.
flowy and have feminine energy. Like and I don't mean putting on people sometimes think, I gotta have feminine energy, so I gotta put on nail polish, and I like taking
Right.
baths, but like I like that before. It doesn't have to be feminine things. It's an energy flow. And for me, it's more natural. And my theory is there's probably people on this earth that are supposed to be more masculine and some are supposed to be more feminine.
Yeah,
Just
and
in their nature.
the same thing goes for women. It's like there's some women that are
Yeah.
very masculine. I grew up with very strong women that have very masculine traits, and that says a lot about our society. You know, I believe in what you're saying. It's like our society, most of our society, even women, are pushed to that masculine side also. I mean, look at the Me Too movement. It's a very, you have very extreme Me Too. You know, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong about the Me Too movement. I'm just saying there's people that are very hardcore with the Me Too movement, and then you have the ones that are more balanced, and then you have the ones that are completely opposed to it. And
Right.
that type of energy is, I think, what needs to come out in everything, because with men it's happening, and in the women it's happening, and until we find that middle ground, that's when we'll find that harmony between all of us. But like I said before, it's always going to be a constant battle to find that balance.
Yeah. And all different moments are going to have different things. You know,
Yep.
there's going to be moments where you need to strive. I'm not like putting like, don't better yourself. And, you know, if I juggled and just did the same juggling trick for the rest of my life, like it'd be boring. But if I'm
Mm-hmm.
always striving to do new juggling tricks and to enjoy the tricks that I know, then I'm just going to get frustrated, right? There has to be a balance in both. And
Yeah.
I think we have to find it within ourselves, and every moment's different. But yeah, knowing that we're finding balance feels good, you know, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of times we beat ourselves up and think, oh, we're doing something wrong, but really we're just going to mess up to find a balance. It's like, you know, you eat too much food, you feel sick, so you don't eat that food again, right? You don't beat yourself
Yeah.
up for eating that food. But that's what people do in relationships and their whole lives. They're like, oh, I did something wrong, and you know, I got angry at that one time. Like I've gotten angry in relationships. I've yelled. It's like, and I'm like, oh crap, I don't want to do that. I can do better next time. But at the same time, being like, oh, you're doing way better than you did 4 relationships ago. So that's the
Right.
balance, right? You strive to get better, but you go, look how far I've come. I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
really good. And that's, to me, the balance between the feminine and masculine. Loving where you're at, but also saying, I can do better.
Yeah, and it's loving every aspect. It's like you love, if you get angry, love that anger. You know, it's part of who you are. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the anger. Uh, it's just that you have to know how to work with the anger or play with the anger, whatever word you want to use, whatever makes you feel comfortable. But a lot of people in society are afraid of the anger. I was for a while afraid of getting angry, but then I discovered it's like I just show my anger a certain way, and knowing that I have the anger and recognizing that anger is okay, kind of, I don't know, that makes me feel more comfortable, more of who I am. It's like, oh, okay, I am an angry person when I get in certain conditions. It's like, that's okay. Because I've never saw healthy anger. And that's the
Right.
trick, because some of us haven't seen what healthy looks like. So I decided to make my own. It's like, okay, right, what's healthy? What do I see as healthy? Healthy anger, healthy sadness,
Mm-hmm.
healthy whatever. But
Yeah.
that's
How do you
how,
do that?
yeah, exactly. And I was so busy looking for it. I go, oh, well, what does healthy anger look like? And I read books, and I've talked to people, and they go, oh, you do it this way, you do it that way. It's like, all right. And some of that didn't resonate with me. So I took little pieces of what each one told me and said, it's like, okay, this is my way of expressing my anger. And it helps, because we're all different. That's the other part about this. Whatever we recommend here, it's like, take what you get out of it, and from there, use what works for you. Don't do the exact technique that I use might not work for some of our viewers. So they can use whatever technique they want for themselves, or take a little bit of my technique and take a little bit of your technique and go from there.
Yeah. I mean, I think even when I coach or teach or whatever you call it. I mean, I always say, just take what you want out of what I say. Like, don't agree with everything I say. Because if you agree with everything I say, then I'm probably, you're taking me way too seriously. Like, at that point, like, I'm worried. Like, if there's nothing you disagree with, you know, which is perfect. You know, I want that because that means you're tapping into your own knowing. But also, we can learn from every single person. So, like, I watched a podcast because I love it because listening to people's Joe Rogan podcast for some reason helps my ego, like, because I like disagree with people, but I have to like listen to like get what I want out of it. And I was listening to Dr. Phil, and his view on psychology is not mine. Like, just change your behavior action plan. Like, it is so beyond what I think. It's me, it's old. But he said a couple things, you know, about his life and about, you know, getting mental health out there and how it's his disease. Like, I agreed with some things he said. And I was like, okay. Like, I could just be like, oh, I don't disagree with you. You're a dumb person, which is what a lot of people do. Or I can just take what I want out of it and go, we just disagree on these things. And that's okay.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with that? It doesn't mean we can't be friends or talk because we have disagreements, which is not fun for me anyways. I don't learn anything if I agree with everything someone else says. They're not helping me grow.
I was about to say that the disagreement is where it shows us where we're at, you know, not necessarily where we're at, but what's true for us, because your truth is not my truth. My truth is my truth, and our viewer's truth is their truth. And that's one of the things that I'm always talking about. It's like, because people tell me, oh, well, you see the world this way and that way. I go, yeah, that's my truth. I go, how do you see the world?
Right.
And it becomes more, what is it that you find deep inside you to be the truth for you? And that's the key. And that's the key to finding the truth of who you are, who we are. And it's the truth to find that balance in our life. And we're all going to fail a couple of times. And we're always going to be failing because that's the way we learn. And we'll do it wrong. And sometimes we have to go to an extreme for whatever reason. In our human nature, it seems to always come to the extreme, right? And then we go, it's like, okay, where's our balance point?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, in every aspect, from political, you know, ideals to science versus spirituality versus whatever it is, male, female, like, there's always a balance. And I think we go extreme, especially when we're younger, to learn, because to find balance, you have to go in extremes, right? You have to know the end of each side, and then slowly we find the middle ground. Probably what a Buddhist perspective would be. It would be like, you start here, and then you're like over here, and then 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 you like find this like middle, you know, kind of like a pendulum works. So yeah, letting ourselves go through the process instead of fighting it and being like, oh, I got to be perfect, but instead allowing us to fall, because that's important.
And the funny part is, once we find that balance point, we're constantly changing, evolving humans. So we find that balance point and we go, okay, there's my view. It's like, and then something happens and oh, well, never mind. That's not my view anymore. Let's switch it over. And we have to be okay with that. It's like, we're not static beings. That's the first thing I want to definitely get out there. It's like, we're not static beings, and no matter what, we're always going to be growing. Even if we think we're not growing, we're growing, because when we're not growing, we're getting a lesson out of whatever we're going to do or happen to us or whatever. And it's fascinating to see that, because some people think, oh, I'm not growing right now, but you are. You're learning what not to do and what you do enjoy or what you want to do.
Right. Sometimes not growing is growing.
Yes.
So from a feminine standpoint where I'm at, sometimes not changing anything in your life is growth. Like, people think change and growth is only through change, like something new happening. I mean, I've traveled and been in a ton of different places. For me to sit still for 10 months was growth.
Yeah.
Like, it was to do nothing, to not strive for more things. Like, that's growth. So it's so funny that we think that we can only grow through these action plans, which is sometimes the case, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's the opposite. Taking a week-long vacation, when I took a week off and forced myself not to work, that was growth, because for a year and a half, I just been working, because you're an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur, it's always in your face. And I had to just like put it all away, and it felt horrible. Like part of me at first was like, I can't do that. Like it'll fall apart. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh no, this is nice. Like I need this. So that was the growth for me in that moment in time.
And that's where
Just sitting doing nothing.
that's where sometimes our human bodies even need that restore point. And I completely agree in that sense. The part that I would add on to that also is that when you take a vacation, like you said, take the vacation. don't,
Right.
don't take your email with you. And, if you can, try and disconnect and be on your own. We're so rushed in this society that we have to be connected. Go to WhatsApp and send a message, or go to Facebook and find out what people's statuses are, or check your email, or hey, make a phone call to get this. When you go on vacation, go on vacation.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like you said, you will grow in that just by being on vacation.
Yeah, because you'll have the energy to come back. I mean, and do things. And it'll change your perspective on things doing nothing. And I even think of exercising because I like health.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did yoga for, crazy for 3 weeks, and now I've stopped for a little bit, I just do it like 30 minutes a day, but I'm going to go back. But I need to stop to let my body grow. I actually get better at it when I go back. It's the opposite of what you think. It's almost like that week or two off, my body readjusts, and then it takes me like 2 days and I'm better than I was before. And it's people don't take that rest, but even nature needs it, right? Like you need the trees to die to grow, and you need to there's no evidence that you don't need rest or to not strive to get better. I look at a dog, it can run like crazy, but it sits still when it needs to. Like it's not always striving. Like, that's just to me, it's not even, I guess, a debate. It's just kind of things are. Like you need to rest, and then you need to strive, and then you need to rest, and then you need to strive.
Well, I always like to use the analogy of a tree. Look in winter, all the leaves fall, and then in spring, the leaves start coming back. In summer, it's in full bloom, and then in fall, it starts losing its leaves again, and then winter, it completely goes off. Living proof right there that you rebuild every time, and it gets taller every time. The tree gets taller every time. That's why I love Taoism. The Taoism is just, when you use the tree for everything, not that that's just all about Taoism, but when you use the symbology of a tree is just very powerful. If you look at all the aspects, it puts roots down, and finally, when it has its roots down, it grows much faster than anything else out there in its time frame. It grows out its branches, and then it grows out its leaves, and it knows when it's time for the leaves to go, and it knows when it's time to bring the leaves in. It's like that talk about being in the flow. That's a very wise tree.
Yeah. What came to my mind was hair. So if you want to grow out your hair, you have to cut it a little bit, right? I mean, to grow it out faster. Like you can't just, it will grow if you just let it go, but like cutting it speeds up the process. So almost to me, it's the same thing. Like by cutting a little bit of your hair off, you speed up the growth. Like you have to erase some to grow some. You have to let some of it die to make it go faster. It's just interesting. It's so simple, yet no one's really talking about it.
Death and rebirth. That's coming back to that whole grieving process, of a relationship. It's a death. The relationship. What I find so funny is that when a relationship breaks up, it's also a death in its way, and we should honor that aspect of it, because that point in time has moved into the death process, and it'll have its grieving process. And if we decide to just jump to another relationship right away, it's like, oh, I'm done. It's like, and then tomorrow I go ahead and do something, then I haven't given myself time to allow for that grieving process, because once again, it's that downtime for us to do nothing where we're going to grow, I guess, if you want to say it that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because sometimes we just get caught up in wanting the new excitement and not allowing the breaking down, which, you know, again, that's me. Like, I love the new excitement. Like, I could go constantly, like, I can feel the excitement in me, and I like it. Like, I liked going on an adventure and the vacation. Like, I needed that. Like, it felt really good. But it was like, okay, like, now that I'm home, I need to kind of chill for a week or two. You know, like, you can't constantly be on an adventure. Like, you need to have a rest afterwards. And to me, that's, again, the same thing. You know, getting in relationships and adventure, and then there's death. And so, if you're in a long-term relationship, there's deaths and rebirths in the relationship.
Yeah, that's the aspect of relationships that people don't realize, is that especially when you're in a relationship that you're communicating very well. When you're communicating very well, we're going to go through processes that are up and down. And the real things that we communicate with and open up about makes that relationship even more powerful. And it brings that bond even tighter. And sometimes it causes the bond to go further apart. But either way it goes, we have a tendency of being able to grow as long as we're communicating. And even when it might look like it's the worst thing ever, it's still something good. I mean, for me, when the breakup happened with me, it's like it wasn't me that initiated it, and you know, I was pretty down about it, and it also brought back a lot of emotions of my own past, of other relationships I've had, and it made me really look at it as and that's where it made me realize, it's like, who am I? It questioned me again. Am I supposed to be this person, or am I supposed to be that person? And then it turns out it's like, no, I'm right where I need to be. And it's a confirmation that I'm growing and I'm doing the right thing by not doing anything, which is kind of neat.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, yeah. I mean, after a relationship, yeah, it's important just to spend that time with yourself. And, you know, I know for me, grieve and allow that to happen. And if you don't, that's okay too. I mean, everyone's different. Some people have grieved before the relationship ended and then they're ready for renewal. I've seen that, because because I'm the one that initiated it, so it's the other side. You might have already been almost dying, because if you're the one breaking up, it kind of takes a while, right? You're like, I'm gonna, but it's really hard to break up with someone. So usually it takes like a month or two. So you want to hurt them because you care about them. That's from a heart-centered place. So the renewal comes to help you to grow from it. So, and I guess my suggestion would be to think about, like, do I do nothing, or do I strive too much, or do I sit with myself too much? Because you can go the other way. I think it's rare, but I've definitely seen spiritual beings where there's like no action being taken and they're not striving for anything. And that also can be out of balance. Like, I'm just doing nothing, I'm good, you know, and I'm like, yeah, but I can tell you, like, you know, it turns into laziness, which, you know, monks still do a lot of things. Monks work 8 hours a day painting and doing their work. Like, people think monks are just sitting there, but they're not. Like, the part of their practice is writing or painting or creating something. So they have found that balance, which is how I like live my life, like as a modern day monk. Like, my first half of my day is meditating, walking. Then I do some work and I eat around noon, and then now I'm going to go work for the rest of the night. Like, but that feels good because now I want to strive. You know, I want to go do something that I enjoy, you know, if it's delivering food, painting, writing, whatever it is. But I've been in the space where I did too much of the being and not enough of the doing.
Yeah, I think anybody of us that's in spirituality have done that. We're all guilty of it, because
right.
we find this, it's like, oh, what I call the happy place. Oh, this happy place, I love it and I don't want to get out of it. And this is really cool. And it's the flow in the universe. And we get lost in the whole, it's like, oh, wait a minute. It's like we're here in these bodies. We still got to do something.
Right. If you're not paying your rent, you're not striving enough. It's not that hard. So that's the joke, it's like, oh, like sometimes life is real, life is showing you, I don't have enough money for rent. I got to work this week. Well, you weren't striving enough this month. It's time to go out there. So you can have that balance. So life is perfect. It just balances you out because it'll force you to go do something. I mean, unless you're homeless, I mean, you could go that route, but then you're going to be in a whole, other realm of suckiness, I guess.
Yeah. And you want to talk about being really tested. I mean, being homeless would be a very strong test.
Yeah.
I mean, that really tests you being out there in the elements and having to really trust the outside world around you and you discovering what you're capable of. I mean, it's like a backpacker getting lost without any of their supplies out there. I mean, they would have to learn how to adapt to their environment or they would die.
I can tell you from not having a home and traveling around,
you
have to do a lot of striving because you got to find where to eat. You got to find where to take a shower. You got to find where everything takes more effort. Like you can't just cook a meal, right? You got to like get out the camping stuff and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So even that takes striving, I guess.
So having done that, how did you keep that motivation up? I mean, moving from place to place like that out, how did you keep yourself motivated through all that?
I mean, I wasn't always moving place to place. I had campsites where I would sit still.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the freedom of it in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It was very freeing. And I wasn't homeless. I mean, I had places to stay. I wasn't like homeless. I was homeless by choice because I wanted to travel with my car. And
no, I know, but I mean, from that, it's like what would keep you going? I mean, it's like, oh, I want to see more of this, or was it the adventure of it that really moved you through it, or what kept you moving through it?
Yeah, the adventure of it. Not really having the resources to not do it, because that was why I did it, was to not have to work as much, to have more freedom, more space in my life to juggle or go to concerts or at that time or camp or hike. I mean, I only had to work 10 or 20 hours a week. I mean, and that's maybe. I mean, I worked a lot less. So like it gave me space to just kind of go with it. I mean, if anything was the flow, that was in the time where I was going with the wind. To the point where it got cold, I moved. I mean, you were really not choosing where to go. So I think it taught me the flow and faith that the flow would always support me. I mean, I found money on the ground when I got to places. It was kind of crazy how it all worked out. So yeah, it was a cool experience. Giving up everything is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I admire that. That takes a lot to do something like that.
Yeah, life kind of just did it. Yeah. I mean, I went through a breakup at the time, and we had an apartment, and she wanted to keep it. And I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to live out of my car. This is the time. And then I went to a friend's house and grieved for a month, and then I did it. But yeah, just kind of life. It was like, why not take the opportunity that life gave me?
Mm-hmm.
And now I live pretty minimal anyways. I mean, that's kind of my truth. Like I can live in one room. I don't need much.
I'm getting to that point. I still got stuff, but my goal is to be minimal, at least to the point that I have the stuff that I want. But everything else is minimal. It's like like even my living room, I don't have that much furniture anymore. And I'm even reducing some things that I have in my home office here. So removing all of that. And I got to a point there that I was trying to speed the whole process up, and it was frustrating me, and I was beating myself up because, oh, why is this stuff not out of here yet? And it just wouldn't move. So then once the moment I let go of pushing through it, all of a sudden things started moving, which is really funny. That's the other part of being in the flow. It's like when you're pushing it, it's not gonna flow your way.
Yeah. And I think some people's truth is to have nicer things. They like that. They couldn't live in a car. It's just not something that excites them. And
Right.
I mean, I live in a house where someone has a lot of stuff. So if someone didn't have this house and these things, I wouldn't have a place to rent. So
Right.
it's all balanced out. I have more stuff than I did before. So it's, it's just fine. It's all a flow in the moment. Again, to find that balance, whatever it is for you, and that's your own truth. Some people want a mansion, some people don't care. I don't care how nice the place is. It really does not matter to my happiness. And sometimes I have more freedom if I feel like I'm in a campsite because I don't have to be as clean because I'm just not good at it. Like I'm just not I'm clean enough, but like
Yeah.
it's not something that I really. But some people like would be miserable in the space. So it's not a right or wrong or how minimal or not. It's just like what works for this person in this moment of their lives, which is different than caring about the truth of society. And that's what I did. I need to buy a house. I need to have a nice car. And I have a nice car because I like to drive a lot. But then I was like, what's my truth? Like, how do I want to live my life? Like, what would make me happy? And not caring what other people think about it, because you're going to find a relationship with someone that likes the same thing.
Right.
But we think as men, we have to have a house, and there's a certain way of doing things.
And it comes back to discovering our truth. I mean, it
Right.
really, when it comes down to it, like you said it best, it's like society, you got to make sure that society is not pushing the values that you're wanting. It's you putting your values to use to find what your value, not what you value, not what society values, because that it's very hard for all of us when we live in a society that wants a certain structure for us. And we want the human beings, we all want to be accepted. And sometimes that makes it a little bit awkward. And the awkwardness, I think, just comes from having that doubt of who we are. At least for me, that's what I discovered when I was feeling awkward. It was because I was trying to fit into somebody else's box.
Right.
And it was powerful discovering that one, because now I'm taking ownership of whatever feeling I have. And that's its own other podcast in itself. Once to discover your own feelings and owning the truth of who you are.
Definitely. Well, you want to wrap it up then?
Yep, we are wrapping it up here, and thank you everybody for joining us. We're as always, I like to leave a challenge for everybody out there, and I'll go. Well, no, go ahead, Daniel. You go first out there. What challenge do you have for our people out there?
Well, I was looking at snow today, so I mean we're at the end of winter. Instead of fighting it, so I had this kind of joke I made with my friend, and he's like, "Oh, winter! Like I'm getting used to it." I was like, "Really? We really like love summer and we hate winter." And like it's like if these were two people, we'd be like abusive to winter and love summer, which is fine. But it's just like a funny joke. Like, but enjoy the winter that's left. Like enjoy the relaxation, but don't fight against it, because it is a season of. Now you're like the last parts of you are dying, right? It's the end. It's this like weird in between stage where you're like ready to go, but you kind of want to chill. But enjoy exactly where you're at instead of fighting it and being like, oh, I gotta, or oh, I gotta, just like go with it. Because like to be one with the seasons and what's happening, right? There's less light. Like you're not gonna have as much energy. Like that's just how nature works. And don't fight it, because you will get sick. And I'm watching people get sick all over in the winter because they're fighting it. They're fighting what winter is telling them. And you're supposed to go to bed earlier. You're supposed to sleep a little more. Like all these things, like that's why it gets dark earlier. Like if you're not going to bed by 9 or 10 and it's winter, I know I feel like crap when I go to bed 2 in the morning. And, if I go to bed 9 or 10, I feel great. And my vibration raises and my day is better and all these different things. So, enjoy the winter, enjoy the lack of striving, because you're going to get kicked in the butt in about a month. So get ready for the race.
And I guess in my challenge, kind of extending a little bit more of yours. It's like winter, yeah, when you're locked up in your place and you can't go anywhere, or just because you don't like the code or whatever, why not make a list for yourself about what you like about yourself, 10 things about yourself that you like on one side of the paper, and 10 things you don't like about yourself on the other side. And you know what? Look at the paper and see if you can love off those parts about you, because that's all you.
Mm.
That's my challenge for you guys out there, especially in the winter right now. Well, we're at the end of winter, but do it anytime and you'll see that as you start embracing all of that, it starts changing your world.
Mm.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Daniel, as always.
Yep,
it's
thank
always
you
a
guys.
pleasure. And always comment below, share, or subscribe to our channel, and we'll bring you some more Awaken Men podcasts whenever we deliver them there. Thank you so much.
Love you all.